Hey, good day to you. Michael DDA here. Wow, we've got a lot to cover today. We're still talking about the meeting between Jacob and Esau, the man of the spirit and the man of the flesh. Ooh, I want you to see today. Man, we've seen Yasher. And because we've seen Yasher, we have an understanding, a far better understanding than most. The profound wickedness of Esau. You know what? Torah does not make it clear. Man, I hate to say that, but it just does not make it clear. The last time we were together, we had picked up from this point right here. This was Jacob leaving Haran on the sly, as it were, without saying goodbye to Laban, because he was afraid of what Laban would do to him. He snuck out, waited till Laban was 3 days away at caring for his sheep, and he left. Took Laban 7 days to catch up with him. I don't know how they covered so much distance, because it appears that they met at the brook. Jabbok is what it wants to say in Torah. And there was a potential brouhaha there. He came with men of his household, brethren also. And I think he was willing to fight Jacob. But Jehovah met Laban on the way and came to him in the night in a dream. Said, don't do him harm or good. Well, Laban made a covenant. Here's where we left off the week before last. And Jacob slaughtered a slaughter. It said offered a sacrifice. Slaughtered a slaughter. Killed an animal for the covenant that they were making from this point. You will not pass from it to do me harm, and I will not pass it to do your harm, or to do you harm. Well, Laban says goodbye. In Torah it says, here it is, Laban departed and returned to his place. Well, what did we see? Here's what we saw. We saw it in Yasher. He says he kissed them and returned to his place. This is right where we left off. The next thing it says in Torah, he says goodbye. Look what the next thing is that it says in Torah. We're going to get to it in a moment. It says, so Jacob went on his way and the angels met him. That's the very next thing. The angels met him. Well, what happened between him saying goodbye to Laban and Laban supposedly returning to his place and the angels of Elohim met him? Man, we have been gypped. We're going to see, and we did see, some very important things. The very next day, they made a covenant. Woke up early, left to go back home. But it doesn't tell you in Torah what happened next. It says, and he hastened. Laban hastened and sent off his son Beor, who was 17 years old, his eldest son, and Avikorov, the son of Uz, the son of Nahor, his cousin. His son and his cousin, Beor, Avikorov, they sound Russian, don't they? And he hastened and went and passed on before Jacob. So they are passing the rock that they said we will not pass this rock to do thee harm. And what did they do? They went to Esau, lied to Esau concerning all that Jacob had done in Haran. Well, Esau heard it. And what did he do? He took 400 men in all. Look what he says. He took all this number of 400 men with drawn swords, and he went unto Jacob to smite him. Well, now what happened next? These messengers, notice they call them messengers, Melachim, same thing that gets translated as angels, and they go to Rebekah. Tell him that Esau is coming to Jacob with 400 men to kill him, to smite him, and take all that he has. So Rebekah now sends messengers, Melachim, to Esau, to Jacob, to warn him. It says, and these messengers went on the road to meet Jacob, and they met him in the road of the brook, on the opposite side of the brook, Yabok. They spelled a little bit differently, same river. It's the same place that Machanaim is at. Or when Jacob saw them, he said, this camp is destined to me from Elohim. And Jacob called the name of the place Machanaim. Well, we talked about Machanaim. What would that mean? 2 camps. You know, I was looking at this thing earlier. Machanaim. We saw 2 camps. This could be actually the plural qualitative camp. Elohim's camp, sent by Yahovah to Jacob. So now Jacob is going to send messengers, again, messengers, Melachim, not angels, messengers, to Esau to try to supplicate him. But Esau doesn't want to hear the truth of what Laban has done to Jacob. And look what it says about how Esau's demeanor was. And Esau answered them with pride and contempt. And he said unto them, surely I have heard, and truly it has been told unto me what Jacob has done to Laban, who exalted him in his house and gave him his daughters and wives. They're making it, see, this is what happens. People want to believe the lie. They don't want to believe the truth. They want to believe the lie. They've already heard it from the messengers. Gave a false report. So the messengers are now going to come back to Jacob, report what they found, and Jacob is terrified. Jacob is greatly afraid, and he was distressed. Now Jacob's going to pray. Oh, Yehovah, remember what you promised me when I left my father's house. He relates the promise. I'm going to give you this land and raise up seed. I'm going to give you riches. And he says, you did it. He says, and now that I have come and thou didst deliver me from Laban, he delivered him then. Shall I fall into the hands of Esau, who will slay me? You know, Jacob is a man. He's learning to trust Yahovah. Sometimes that's not easy. Sometimes in the darkness, we have to fight our emotions, our thoughts, and bring them back to the understandings of what Yahovah's word actually says. Jacob is now preparing for war. If he can help to stop it, he wants to, but he's preparing for war. Look at what he does. He divides the people. 72 men came from Rebekah, the messengers, not the angels. Look who led them. Damasek, the son of Eleazar, and Elianas, the son of Eleazar. Adult sons. Eleazar, remember, was the servant of Abraham. Probably long past by now. Abraham's passed. Here's Isaac. They're working for Isaac. How big is this camp? How, you send men. If she was sending messengers, wouldn't she send one or two? No, these messengers are men prepared to defend Jacob. He's going to utilize them, split them in half. Half of his servants are going to go with Damasek, and the other half is going to go with Elianas. That's his servants, not his family. He's got, at this point, at least 100 servants who are able to fight. We're going to see that in future chapters. Not long from now. Next week we'll see it for sure. But he's going to take Damasek's sons, seed, and some of his children, some of his servants. So we've got 36, plus if he takes half of his servants, another 50 or so in one camp, and 36 with another 50 in another camp. If he comes, now remember, these are the same guys, Eleazar, Abraham, who fought 800,000 men. Could these men defeat 400 of Esau's men? I think they could. But it's not about the flesh, is it? It's about the spirit. He divides his camp, prepares for war. If they go here, that'll give us chance to, if they go to this camp, that'll give the other camp and us a chance to get away. Is his reasoning behind that. The next thing he does is pray to Yahovah. Here it is. It says, and Yahovah heard his prayer on that day. And Yahovah then delivered Jacob from the hands of Esau. How is Yahovah going to do it? Here's how he did it. He sent 3 angels from heaven. And they went before Esau and came to him. Do you remember? 2,000 men divided into 4 camps. Camps. Makana. 4 camps. Each has 4 chiefs. The first camp comes to Esau. Scares him to death. Men, it says, 2,000 men riding upon horses furnished with all sorts of war instruments. And they appeared in the sight of Esau and all his men to be divided into 4 camps with 4 chiefs in them. There it is. Men furnished for war on horseback. Esau's on horseback, but I don't think his servants are on horseback. The 400 men. Well, there's a big advantage already. So the first 500 men come to Esau. Scare him half to death. He falls off his horse. They speak to them. But Esau really lies. He says, and Esau said to them, oh, then my brother Jacob is your Lord, whom I have not seen for these 20 years, and now I have this day come to see him. Do you treat me in this manner? Well, they left. The next troop comes. scare him half to death again. He falls off his horse again. The third troop comes, and finally the fourth troop comes. And by the time the fourth troop came, here it is right here, when the fourth camp came towards him, and they also did unto him and his men as the others had done. And when Esau beheld the evil which the four angels had done to him and to his men, he became greatly afraid of his brother Jacob. You hear that? Finally, the man who has got such hate in his heart, coming to smite his brother and steal all that he has, is now changing his attitude. Yehovah did it. Can't see it in Torah. We're going to see that today. It's no clue. So that Esau concealed his hatred against Jacob because he was afraid of his life on account of his brother, and because he imagined that the four camps that he had lighted upon were Jacob's servants. Hear that? He thinks that the four camps are Jacob's servants. Oh my goodness, my brother is so powerful. Look what he's sending ahead. And I still haven't seen him. Well, now we have a change. It says, and Jacob tarried that night with his servants in his camp. This is all going on without Jacob even knowing it. I got a hunch this is maybe even a flashback for what's going to happen the next day. He's providing presents, appeasements for his brother Esau in hopes that his brother will accept them and forgive him. Put them into 10 droves, it says. He put them all into 10 droves. And he placed them, and he placed each sort by itself. And he delivered them into the hands of 10 servants. Now, these servants are not the servants that are able to go to war. These are probably young men who are not going to be in the battle. The other ones who are fit for war, able to fight, they're with the 2 sons of Eliezer, aren't they? The women and the children, the female servants, his women, Leah and Rachel, his handmaids, Bilhah and Zilpah, they're with him, with their sons. Dinah is in a chest hidden away. And this is pretty much where we left off last week. We're going to pick up right here. I want to finish this chapter, and then we're going to try and do chapters 32 and 33 of Genesis. Hopefully we can get through all of that today. And if they shall say unto you, why doth he delay behind you from coming to meet his brother? Remember, these is the messages that were going forth to the servants. When he sees you, you tell them this. These are presents from Esau. He's coming from behind. That's what they're saying right here. And if they say unto you, why does he delay behind you from coming to meet his brother and to see his face? Then you shall say unto them, surely he cometh joyfully behind us to meet his brother. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes to him. And after this, I will see his face. Peradventure, he will accept me. 10 times that's going to happen. But they don't know that Esau has already changed his attitude for the fear that he has from Jacob because of the angels and the 2,000 men of war that came upon Esau and his men. So the whole present passed in the hands of his servants. 10 droves. went before him on that day, and he lodged that night with his camps by the border of Jabbok. And he arose in the midst of the night, and he took his wives, this is Jacob, took his women and his maidservants and all belonging to him, and he that night passed over the ford Jabbok. He's on the north side. He's going to take his women and his concubines and the sons and move them to the other side. But then he's going to go back across. What's up with that? Remember, Jacob's a man working out his faith with fear and trembling. I got a hunch. Look what it says. And when he had passed all belonging to him over the brook, Jacob was left by himself. It says, and a man met him, and he wrestled with him that night until the breaking of day. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint through wrestling with him. Who is this man? Is this even something that's actually happening in the flesh? It says it hurt the hollow of his thigh. Where's that? That is the word yarak. Look, here, I think I've got a note about it. Yeah. Kind of long. There you go. Here's Genesis 24 and 32, 24 through 25. When Jacob was left alone, then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till the break of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. This socket is the word yarak, the hollow of his thigh. Here's Genesis 32. Therefore, Israel's seed eat not the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew of that shank. They make a capital he. They make it all about Yahovah, and many of the Christians want to make this Yeshua. But what is this yarak that we're talking about? We've seen it before. Here's a few verses. So Abraham said to the eldest servant of his household, who ruled over all that he had, please put your hand under my yarak, my thigh. So the servant put his hand under the thigh, the yarak, of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. All the persons who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came from his yarak. People come from a yarak. What is the yarak that we're talking about? We're 60 persons in all. All the souls that came out of the loins, the yarak of Jacob, were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. Well, here's what. I think this might even be Strong's that says this about yarak. He says, from an unused root, meaning to be soft, the thigh, from its fleshly softness. By euphemism, the genitive parts. It's the nice way of talking about the generative parts. The yarak. This is what we're talking about. What's going on here? This is going to be the same night that Jacob is, it says in Torah that he got the name Israel. remember if it was here or not. We'll find out right now. A second birth, spiritual birth. He said, I'll bring you back. And if you bring me back, Yehovah, this is back when he was in Bethel, naked, poor, not a shekel to his name, that he promised Yehovah that if Yehovah would bring him back with sons, seed, and all the riches, that he would become, or that Yehovah would become Jacob's God. Who is he wrestling with? I wonder if Jacob was wrestling with his own flesh. Would he give into fear and cut and run? Or face his fear and trust Yehovah to protect him? Think of all that's happened to this point. He doesn't know that Yehovah has changed the attitude of Esau. He knows Esau's coming with 400 men to kill him. He's still mad at him. Puts his women and his children on the other side. Is that so that he can cut and run? I got a hunch it might be. What did it say? He was terrified concerning what Esau would do to him. And at the break of day, the man left Jacob there. And he blessed him, and he went away, and Jacob passed the brook at the break of day. And he halted upon his thigh. A groin injury? Is that what's going on? This whole business about the children of Israel, Israel's seed not eating. Did Yehovah say don't eat that portion? No, it's a tradition of the Jews, based on their interpretation of what was happening here. You know what? I think we should really look at that. It says, and the sun rose upon him when he passed the brook, and he came to the place of his cattle and sons and women. And they went on till midday. And whilst they were going, the present was passing on before them. Yes, remember the 10 droves that he sent, separate, each separate. Here's 10, here's 10 more, 10 more, 10 more, 10 more. And Jacob, I say 10, one more, until they got to 10. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and beheld Esau. Behold, Esau was at a distance. Now, for the first time, he sees his brother coming along with many men, about 400. And Jacob was greatly afraid of his brother. He had reason to be. He knows the rest of the story. He knows what's been going on. We don't. The readers of Torah don't have a clue what's been going on. But we know what's been going on. We know that Laban sent men, stirred up Esau. Deep wounds. And now, finally, here is Esau. Now Jacob's going to divide up his sons and his women once again. And Jacob hastened and divided his sons unto his women, and his handmaids, and his daughter Dinah he put in a chest, and he delivered her into the hands of his servants. And he passed before his sons and wives to meet his brother. Oh, you know what? In Genesis, it appears to me that he put Zilpah and her sons first, Bilhah and her sons second. then Leah and her sons, and then Rebekah and Joseph last. It appears he stayed with them, but here it says that he went ahead of them. It's a different understanding, isn't it? He passed before his sons and women to meet his brother. And he bowed down to the ground. Yea, he bowed down 7 times until he approached his brother. And Elohim caused Jacob to find grace and favor in the sight of Esau and his men. For Elohim had heard the prayer of Jacob. Well, and this is exactly what we just saw earlier in this chapter. The angels had changed the demeanor of Esau. Now Esau has the fear of Jacob. It says, and his terror fell upon his brother Jacob. For Esau was greatly afraid of Jacob for what the angels of Elohim had done to Esau. And Esau's anger against Jacob was turned into kindness. Amazing how well the fear of Elohim works. Will Jehovah do this for his sons in the coming last days? I fully expect that he will. And when Esau saw Jacob running toward him, he also ran toward him and embraced him. And he fell upon his neck, and they kissed, and they wept. You know, Torah doesn't tell us anything about the demeanor of Esau coming to his brother, that he means to do his brother harm. The only thing that even gives us a hint is that he came with 400 men. But the fear that Jacob has to the readers of Torah makes it look, in a sense, like it's all in Jacob's head. He's fabricating it. But it's because we don't know who the angels are. We don't know anything. We call them angels. Who came? 72 men. Well, now look what happens. And when Esau saw Jacob running toward him, he also ran toward him, embraced him. He fell on his neck, and they kissed, and they wept. And Elohim put the fear and kindness toward Jacob in the hearts of the men that came with Esau. And they also kissed Jacob and embraced him. And now look at this. Here's Eliphaz. Remember Eliphaz? He's the one that robbed Jacob when he was going to Haran. Left him naked. Took everything that he had except the rod. Jacob still got the rod. And also Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and his 4 brothers. He's got 4 brothers. We see that in Torah. Here it is right here. Now Adah bore Eliphaz to Esau, and Bathmith bore Reuel. Well, Adah and Bathmith are one and the same. We don't know that because we don't know Torah. And Ahimaah bore Aholivamah bore Yaush, Ya'alam, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau who were born to him in the land of Canaan. So here they are. Eliphaz and his 4 brothers. There's the 4 brothers. Sons of Esau went with Jacob, and they kissed him and embraced him, for the fear of Jacob had fallen upon them all. And Esau lifted up his eyes and saw the woman with their offspring, the sons of Jacob, Jacob's seed, walking behind Jacob and bowing along the road to Esau. Here they are coming behind him. And Esau said to Jacob, Who are these with thee, my son? Are they thy children, thy sons? He's looking at boys. Yeladim is the word that we're going to see today in Torah. Yeladim, Yelad, young men, or servants. And Jacob answered Esau and said, these are my Yeladim, which Elohim has graciously given to thy servant. Jacob's calling Esau his master in this. He's the servant of Esau. Still trying to placate him. You know, Jacob probably can't believe his eyes. The last time his brother saw him, he wanted to kill him. He sent Eliphaz to kill him, remember? That's why they left. Where were they? They were in, what is the name of that place? Hebron. Machpelah. Mamre sent him from that area to go to Haran for safety. And whilst Jacob was speaking to Esau and his men, Esau beheld the whole camp. And he said unto Jacob, whence did thou get the whole camp that I met yesterday? The whole camp that he met yesterday. What's going on here? We've got confusion in communication. Esau's thinking about who? Esau's thinking about the 2,000 men on horseback that terrified him and all of his men yesterday. And Jacob's thinking about what? He's thinking about the 10 droves that he sent to placate Esau. Now listen to what Jacob says. He's asking about the camp, the Makanah, the strong men. Jacob says, to find favor in the sight of my Lord. It is that which Elohim graciously gave to my servants. You hear that? You see the miscommunication going on here? We're going to see it in Torah too. He says, and the present came before Esau, and Jacob pressed Esau, saying, take, I pray thee, the present that I have brought to Adonai, my Lord. And Esau said, wherefore is this my purpose? Keep what thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, it is incumbent upon me to give all this, since I have seen thy face, that thou still liveth in peace. You know, to me, it seems like Jacob is still doing things in the flesh, not realizing that Yehovah has already done it in the spirit. His mother gave Jacob fleshly advice. Give what you have received to your brother. He's prepared for war, divided his camp, put all his things in order. And Jacob's still kind of thinking the same direction. There's still fear in Jacob's heart. It says, and Esau refused to take the present. And Jacob said unto him, I beseech thee, my Adonai, I beseech thee, Adonai. If now I have found favor in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For I have therefore seen thy face, as though I have seen a God-like face, because thou wast pleased with me. How is it God-like? Because he was expecting to be hated, and now he's seeing being loved? Esau took the present, and Jacob also gave unto Esau silver and gold and bdellium. I don't know what bdellium is, but it's valuable. For he pressed him so much that he took them. And Esau divided the cattle that were in the camp, and he gave the half of the men, gave the half of the cattle to the men who had come with him. Remember, there's 360 hired servants, the sons of the seed of Seir. They came all this way. We don't get anything for coming all that way. No, we didn't fight. Well, the present's going to help them feel better about what's happened as well, isn't it? And he says, he gave half to the men who were with him, for they had come on hire. And the other half he delivered to the hands of his sons, the 4 sons, the brothers of Eliphaz. And the silver and gold and bdellium he gave to the hands of Eliphaz, his eldest son. And Esau said unto Jacob, Look, let us remain with thee, and we will go slowly along with thee until thou comest to my place. This is Esau saying to Jacob, come to my place with me, that we may dwell there together. And Jacob answered his brother and said, I would do as my Lord speaketh unto me. But my Lord, Adonai, and again, always Adonai, knoweth the Yeladim are tender, and the flocks and herds with their young are with me. Go but slowly, for if they went swiftly, they would all die. For thou knowest their burden and fatigue. Therefore, let my Lord, let Adonai pass on before his servant, and I will go slowly for the sake of the Yeladim and the flocks, until I come to my Lord's Adonai's place in Seir. Hear that? Jacob lied. He's still afraid. He wants to be delivered from these men. If he knew what Yahovah had done, he would simply say, no, I'm going to see Dad. But he didn't, did he? He lied. Let Esau think he was going to come to him in Seir. And Esau said unto Jacob, I will place with thee some of the people that are with me, to take care of thee in the road, and to bear thy fatigue and burden. And he said, what needeth it, Adonai? If I may find grace in thy sight, behold, I will come unto Seir to dwell there together as thou hast spoken. Go thou then with thy people, for I will follow thee. Lied again. Look what it says. And Jacob said this to Esau in order to remove Esau and his men from him, so that Jacob might afterwards go to his father's house to the land of Canaan. And Esau hearkened to the voice of Jacob. And Esau returned with the 400 men that were with him on the road to Seir. And Jacob and all belonging to him went that day as far as the extremity of the land. Just got into the border, it sounds like, of Canaan and its borders. And he remained there some time. Well, this says we're supposed to read Genesis 32 and 33. I was going to actually read 34 as well, but I want you to see again what Yasher has to say about Jacob's experience in Shechem, the taking of Dinah, the fall of that city, and the large 10,000 men that came to destroy Jacob and his sons. Oh man, we have such fun things to look forward to. Let's turn to Torah. This is where we left off. Remember, we had just said, and Laban left and went back to his house. Now, the very next thing we see in Torah is this. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. The angels of God. What goes on in your mind when you read the angels of God met him? Do you think 72 men sent by Rebecca? I'm guessing not. The Melachim, here it is, the Melachim of Elohim, There's Melech. But this is Melechi. This is really Elohim's messengers. Elohim's messengers. As it says, when we read B'nai or B'ni, Israel, it's the same form of Elohim's or Melechi, Elohim. So if we're going to read one as Israel's seed, we got to read this one as Elohim's messengers. Elohim's messengers met him. In this case, what were they? 72 men sent by Rebekah to warn Jacob. Well, I've got lots of things in here, but most of it we've read already, so we're going to let that pass. 32:2. Here it is, camp. When Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's camp. God's camp. Okay, the word is makana. Makan. That is this word right here. Makan. This is makanayim. It's the plural form of makan. It gets translated as two camps. But I wonder if this is the plural, because this camp is the qualitative camp that's coming from Isaac. Strong, mighty, able to defend Jacob. We don't know. I put Elohim's camp, sent by Rebekah, and Jacob's camp. Trying to make it two camps idea work. But I really wonder if we're talking about the qualitative camp. They give it a whole new word. In Torah, Strong's did. And if you look at this word here, I'm going to click on it. See, it shows up down here. When I go to the dictionary, Ancient Hebrew Lexicon doesn't even address it. Why? Because it's a proper noun, and he doesn't do proper nouns. But if you do makan, we're going to see that in a moment. We're going to see what he says about that. Camp. Let's continue. Verse 3. Well, let me finish verse 4. Then Jacob saw them. When Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's camp. Elohim's camp. And he called the name of that place Makanayim. Makanayim. Then Jacob sent messengers. So here's Jacob now sending messengers. Okay, same word. Only this time in the plural. Well, it was a plural in the last time. It was just possessive plural. So it looks different. But here they translate one as messengers. God's messengers. And here it's Jacob's messengers. Jacob sent messengers. Same word, but one's translated as messengers, one's translated as angels. See a problem? Most of the times in Torah, when it says angels, we're talking about men or a man, not angels. We'll see in this chapter again, there will be angels. I believe there was angels. Maybe there isn't in this chapter. Let's find out. But again, here's Jacob sending, look at what the word is. Shalach. And he shalach. And he sent Melechim, messengers. A messenger is a sent one. Rebekah sent Melechim. Jacob is now going to send Melechim to Esau in response. You know, the angels of Elohim met him. Didn't tell him anything. Now Jacob's sending messengers to Esau. Why? We don't know. Is he just paranoid? That's what we may think. Is he glad to see his brother? I don't think so. I'm sure he's meeting his brother with great trepidation. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them. Oh, did I have a note on that one? I saw it. Okay. And he commanded them, saying, speak thus, Adonai. No, speak thus to Adonai Esau. My lord Esau. Thus your servant Jacob says, I have dwelt with Laban and stayed there until now. Well, again, we don't know that Esau has already had messengers come from Laban, Beor. What was the other one? The Russian-sounding one. I forget right offhand. He says, I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, male and female servants, and I have sent to tell Adonai that I may find favor in thy sight. Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to thy brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you with 400 men with him. Here, now it says, and Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him. Which people? People! Men who are able to fight. The 72 messengers, the 100 servants that he has, divided them. And they're with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels into 2 companies. So he's dividing all of them. And he said, if Esau comes to one company and attacks it, then the other company which is left will escape. Then Jacob said, Elohim, is added, Elohim of my father Abraham. This is saying Abraham's Elohim. Elohi, Abraham is what it actually says. Elohi, Abraham. Elohi of my father Isaac. Yehovah, who said to me, return to thy country, to thy family, and I will deal well with thee. This is exactly the prayer that he had. He was reminding Yehovah of the promise that he gave him. He says, I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and all the truth which you have shown thy servant. For I crossed over the Jordan with my staff. That's all he had. And now I have become 2 companies. He had a staff. That's it. The rod of Elohim. In other words, Jacob left Canaan with just his staff and the clothes on his back. And now he has become 2 companies. Makanayim. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him, lest he come and attack me and the mothers with the mother with the Yeladim. Mother. Sons. It's not Yeladim in this case, it's sons. The children. The sons. Is this all in Jacob's head? That Jacob is coming with these 400 men, meaning him harm? As we are reading this chapter, notice that when Jacob finally, or Esau finally gets to him, he's glad to see him. We don't know the change that's gone on in Esau's heart and mind to influence him to be kind to Jacob. We think, it's all in Jacob's head. Torah does not make it clear the wickedness, the profound wickedness of Esau. He is afraid, and he's got a right to be afraid because he knows that messengers have gone from Laban to Esau. His mother told him, and now he's trying to temper Esau. For you said, I will surely treat you well. He's still reminding Yehovah what Yehovah said. Remember what Yehovah says, Yehovah does. He can't go back on his word, so he reminds him and himself of Elohim's promise to multiply his seed, his sons, and his sons' sons' sons. For you said, I will surely treat you well, treat thee well, and make thy descendants as the sand of the sea. We're talking about seed, descendants, zerah, sons, sons, sons. So he lodged there that night, and he took what came to his hand as a present for Esau, his brother. He's dividing what Yehovah has given to him and making it a present for Esau in hopes of appeasing him. Here's what he divided: 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 foals. Donkeys and foals. We see a little bit different picture in Yasher. We saw this last week. I'll read it to you. This is what it said in Yasher. And this is the amount of the present which Jacob chose from his flocks to give to his brother Esau. He selected 240 head of flocks. 240 head of flocks. That would be lambs and goats. This says 200 rams, 200 ewes, and 20 rams. So we're short 20. And they're making it goats rather than of the flocks. And then it says, and he selected from the camels and the asses 30 each. This says 30 camels with their colts. 30 camels with their colts. So when we were talking 30, what did he say? He selected from the camels and asses, colts, I guess, each 30. And the herds, he chose 50 kine. Actually, they broke it down even more so, I thought. Maybe I'm not sure where I read it. Maybe I didn't copy with it what I really wanted to have. So here it says 30 milk, we said that, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 foals. This says 50 kine, 50 cattle, which was 40 cows, 10 bulls. Leaves out the donkeys and the 10 foal together, I guess. Then he delivered them to the hands of his servants. Here it is, servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass over before me, put some distance between successive droves. Every drove, here's the word for drove. It's aider. It's an arrangement. 50 groups is what he's saying. I'm sorry, 10 groups. And pass over before me and put some distance between successive Adar, or Ader. Groups. We're going to see Well, just remember that word droves is ader. Okay, remember that for me. Then he delivered them by the hand of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to the servants, pass over before me, put some distance between the successive groups. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau, my brother, meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong? To whom do you belong? He's talking to a man. Who do you belong? The man belongs to his master. To who do you belong? And whose are these in front of thee? Then you shall say, they are thy servant Jacob's. It is a present to my master Esau, and behold, he also is behind us. So he commanded the second, the third, and all the following droves. There's the word again, droves, ader. All the successive droves, and all who followed the droves, saying, in this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him. So they heard him speak to the first servant. What I told him, that's what I want you to do also. Yeah, it's going to be a bit repetitious. And also say, behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me. And therefore I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. Again, this, because we don't know the rest of the story, all we know is that Esau's coming with 400 men. But it's going to turn out that these 400 men are glad to see him. So it makes Jacob look paranoid. He's going through all this for naught. Do you see what I'm saying? So the president went on before him, and he himself lodged that night in the camp. And he arose that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. Jabbok means pouring out or emptying, a pouring out or wrestling. Oh, it's perhaps even named under or because of what the story's all about. One of the streams on the east of Jordan, into which it falls about midway between the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. Yeah, you want to see where this is at, just so you kind of can see this. Here is, let me just zoom out a little bit so you can see well, first of all, here's Makanayim. Here's Mizpah. We talked about Mizpah. Here's Sukkot. This is where we're going to go next. And finally, Shechem is where we're going to go a year and a half later. Ooh, cool stuff. Let me show you. It is about midway between. Here is the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. And here we are, right here. It is about almost exactly halfway between. Here it is, Abak. That's what the word is, Abak. So Bak is the root of this word for wrestle. A rolling around in the dust. That's why I said wrestling with himself, in a sense. The spiritual man wrestling with the man of the flesh. In a sense, is fear. Will you trust Jehovah, or are you going to give in to the fear, cut and run? That seems like what the decision is right here today, doesn't it? It says, and he rose that night and took his 2 women, the female servants, the 11 sons, and crossed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone. He's on the other side, the north side of the Jabbok River. Yavak River. It says, and a man wrestled with him. Well, they make it the capital man. Accident for the translators' parts? No, I think they want to sell Bibles. wrestled with a man, and a man wrestled with him till the break of day. A man. A man. A man. Is this a flesh man versus a spiritual man? I don't know. Was this a vision that he had, possibly? Was there really no wrestling at all? Was it all based on the fear of what was going to happen the following day? The uncertainty? Man, I've had a bunch of nights where I've had sleepless nights, having to go to court the next day, concerned about what's going to happen, what I'll say if this happens. Oh, it's terrible. Who likes to do that? Is that what's going on? I wonder. So Jacob wrestled with a man. Man, it's an ish. It's an ish. Not an angel, a man. Now, when he saw that he had not prevailed against him, who's the he? I think it's talking about the man. They put capital again, he, like it's God himself. God is not a man, that he should lie, nor the son of man, that he should repent. Now when he saw the man saw that the man did not prevail against him, the man touched the socket of his hip, the yarak. What is this business with the yarak? Is it the euphemism for the generative parts? And the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So this looks like Jacob's hanging on to this man. And he said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel." Is this where Jacob gets the name Israel? For you have struggled with Elohim. Struggled with Elohim. What does that mean, struggled with Elohim? Was the man Elohim? Or is this a struggle with what Elohim has promised versus his fear in the flesh? And with men. And with men. You struggle with Elohim and with men. And have prevailed. What's the prevailing? That Jacob is now going to trust Elohim? What does Israel actually mean? I think I've got something here. It says, Yisrael comes from two words. Zara, prevail, and Elohim. He will rule as God. Israel means he will rule as God. Did the fear of Jacob come on Esau? What did it say? 2 peoples are in thy womb. The older shall serve the younger. Is this Yehovah bringing his word to pass? Again, here in the blue, I think that the man that Jacob wrestled with was his own flesh and his own mortality. Was he going to trust Elohim or cut and run? That's my thoughts behind this supposed struggle, I think the spiritual man is the one who survived, and perhaps why he got the name Israel. But look at this. 3 chapters later, after the battle at Shechem, the destruction of that city, the 10,000 men who are now going to come after Jacob and his sons as a result, now he's going to leave and he's going to go to his father. And on his way, he's going to stop in Bethel. Look what's going to happen. It says, and Elohim said to him, your name is Jacob. Your name shall not be called Jacob anymore, but Israel shall be thy name. So he called his name Israel. Well, which one is right? Did he get his name at the brook Yabok? Or did he get his name here in Bethel, where he first met with Elohim? I could see merit for both. But Yahweh's not going to give him his name twice. But Torah says he did. So what do we do? I don't know. Almost done with this chapter. You struggled with Elohim and prevailed. Elohim and men. And with men. Okay, I think sometimes we just read, you struggled with Elohim and prevailed. Prevailed over Elohim. That man was Elohim. Now it says struggled with Elohim and men, and with men, and have prevailed. Now there's more to this story. Then Jacob asked, saying, tell me your name. No, this was it. Then Jacob asked, tell me your name. And he said, why is it? Oh, no, tell me your name. Yeah, so here he just changed Jacob's name. Now he says, tell me your name. And he said, why is it that you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Again, did he see Yehovah face to face? Or did he wrestle to become Yehovah's spiritually born man who will trust him wherever he goes? Oh, we're going to see lots of times in Jacob's life still where he is going to let fear get ahead of him. We're going to see that his sons almost have more faith, more trust in Elohim than Jacob does. Here again is what I wrote. I think Jacob wrestled with his own flesh. Esau is the manifestation of Jacob's flesh. Esau, remember, he's a man of the flesh. They're twins. And when his spirit would not succumb to his flesh, he then saw Elohim as Abraham and Isaac had come to know him. Keep in mind, no one can see Elohim, only his messengers. Here's Exodus 33. And he said, please show me your glory. This is Moses speaking to Elohim. Then he said, I will make my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of Elohim before you. I will proclaim the name of Elohim before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no man shall see my face and live. El's face. Here's the word, Penuel. Penuel. I think it's 2 words. It means El's face. Here, again, Penny, El. B'nai, B'ni, El. What was the one we saw today? Melchi, Elohim. This is Penny, El. El's face. El's seed, Israel's seed. Or Israel, or El's messengers, Israel's seed. Same construction. Pen. What does pen mean? There it is. Pena. Turn, appear, face. Implication, face. What do I have? Panim. Oh, face to face. Face to face. This is when we talk to, here it is right here. I guess we don't really have it. Face to face. Here it is, right here. Peniel. For I have seen Elohim face to face. This is what we're looking at here. Face to face. This is face, panim, to face. Panim. It says it's always used in the plural. It says plural, but always used in the singular. Face to face. Two. It looks like L, doesn't it? Look, here's L for 10. That's the short form of Elohim. Or maybe Elohim is the long form of L. Here is L, looks like the same words, different letters, means towards. Face to face, face towards face. That's what it is. Okay, just a little bit left in this chapter. Just as he crossed over Penuel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Did he have a groin injury? Is that why he's limping? I wonder. There's Penuel again. They spelled it a little bit differently now, and they had it with a yod. Now they spell it with a vav in the middle there. Therefore, to this day, Israel's seed do not eat. Yeah, this is this whole business that we were talking about before. As to this day, Israel do not eat the muscle of that muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket. Perhaps because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip and the muscle that shrank. Oh. Again, is this... It's almost like commentary in here, isn't it? We're talking about the yarak. The hollow of his thigh. The hollow of his yarak. Okay, well, we talked enough about that. Let's move on. 33. This is continuing Jacob's meeting with Esau. Finally, they're going to talk. Where did we leave off here? Him crossing over. Well, yeah, so he hasn't seen Jacob yet. Has he? He's wrestled. His attitude has changed during the night. But now look what's going to happen. Now Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and there Esau was coming, and with him 400 men. Oh no! So he divided the Yeladim. This is Yeladim. Isn't this funny that in this chapter they use Yeladim? Well, let's find out. I'm not sure that they did use it here. Compare. Here, let's drop down. Children. Yeladim. Yeah, Yeladim. The Yeladim. Divided the Yeladim. Why in this chapter does he are the boys all called Yeladim? I don't understand that. They are young. Remember, the oldest is only about 11 years old. That's the eldest son. Maybe 12. Reuben. They're young. Now Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and there Esau was coming, and with him 400 men. So he divided up divided the Yeladim. This is what we're talking about. The Yeladim. We're talking about sons. We're not talking about Dinah. She's in a chest. We're talking about sons, aren't we? Among Leah, Rachel, and the two servants. And he put the maidservants and their Yeladim in front. Leah and her Yeladim behind. Rachel and Joseph last. Then he crossed before them. Oh, look at that. So he didn't do what I thought he did. I was thinking that he put them in order and sent them ahead. I was wrong. It says he crossed before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. So he takes a few steps towards his brother, he bows down, gets up, takes a few more steps, bows down, humbling himself before his brother. I wanted you to see something. This word Yeladim, I think it's really important that we learn these Hebrew words, because when you come across these words, I encourage you to look them up. They're really important so that we can get a better understanding. Here's this word that we're talking about. This says their young sons when it's talking about the maidservants, Yeladim. Their Yeladim. We could do it this way by putting them all together. Her Yeladim. Here is the word, Yeled. This is plural. This part says plural. This says her. And this says their. Their. I guess together these are really giving us that idea of there, but these are lady there. Their young sons. Her young sons. Here they left out the plural, or the their part, and they just made it the her. But these are Yeladim. A lad, an offspring, a boy child, a young man. Something born. Here is the same word for the ladies, for the girls. Dinah is a Yalda. Yalda, same word exactly. You see that? Yaldi, Yaled. But here they add the hey to it to make it female. Yelda. So one is Yeled and the other is Yelda. Same way, they just divide up the Hebrew letters a little bit differently. But we're talking then about a young damsel. But there's another word that I would like to familiarize you with. Here is the same word, Yelda, Yelda. But now here's another word, Na'ara. Na'ara is another word for a damsel, a young woman, a girl. So as Yelda, so is Na'ara. As is Yeladim, or Yeladim, yeah, or Yeled, so is Na'ar. See, Na'ar with the hey on it is the female. Na'ar with, or remember this is Na'ara. This is Na'ar, a young son. Oh, I really like to help us see these things. And we're going to see that sometimes a woman is called a Na'ar. Well, what's up with that? Sometimes it goes back and forth from one verse to the next. Na'ara, Na'ar, Na'ara, Na'ar. Why can't they get it right? But this is what Torah says. But we're clearly going to be talking about a Na'ara when we're talking about Dinah in the very next chapter. Verse 3. Then he crossed before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times. But Esau ran to meet him. See, now this is Torah. We don't know what's happened, why Esau was coming. Now all of a sudden Esau's coming to greet him. Oh, I'm so glad to see you, my brother. Well, we don't know that he's got the fear of Elohim shook into him. No, the fear of Jacob shook into him by Elohim's messengers. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. I put, except for Yasher, we have no idea what actually happened here and why Esau had such a great change in his heart. No, we have no clue what's going on, do we? Does Torah once again make Esau look like a good guy and Jacob like the distrustful one? I think it does. Makes Jacob look paranoid. Well, look at this. Esau wasn't coming to hurt him at all. He was coming to greet him and kiss him and love on him. Please, you're killing me. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the Yeladim and said, who are these with thee? So he said, the Yeladim, whom Elohim has graciously given thy servants. Then the maidservants came near, they and their Yeladim, and bowed down. Again, Yeladim, their Yeladim, the females Yeladim, plural. And Leah also came near, her Yeladim also came near with her Yeladim and bowed down. Afterwards, Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed down. Then Esau said, what do you mean by this company? Company! Oh my gosh! By the company. What do you mean by the company which I met? Look at that. Which I met. Which company is he talking about? The droves? Or the company of warriors that came before Jacob? You see this? He's not calling them droves. He's calling them, look what the word is, the Makanah. The Makanah. The same word in the plural that was Makanaim. The messengers that came from Rebekah were Elohim's Makayim. Makanah, the company that I met. But now, that's Esau's question. Jacob gets a completely different answer, because look what Jacob says. He says, and he said, these are to find favor in the sight of my Lord. Ha! I sent 2,000 men on horseback to find favor in the sight of my Lord. No, there's confusion going on here, isn't there? The Makanah, here's the Makanah. Okay, this is ancient Hebrew lexicon in the Bible. He says camp, inhabitants of a camp. Not talking about goats and sheep. Not talking about that word, what was it? Ader? When we were talking about droves? No, we're talking about the inhabitants of a camp. On horseback, with weapons of war. I put this is the same word in the singular that gets translated as Makanayim, Jacob's camp. Here it is. Then he delivered them into the hands of his servants, every drove. There it is, Adar. Okay, he's not talking about Adar. He's talking about Makanah. Makanah. They're confused. There isn't good communication going on here at all. But Esau said, I have enough, my brother. So now Esau is going to ignore the ideas about these men that came to him. And now he's going to say, I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself. And Jacob said, no, please, if I have found favor in thy sight, then receive my present from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen thy face, as though I had seen the face of Elohim, and you were pleased with me. I think Jacob can hardly believe his eyes, but he's still afraid. Please take my blessing that is brought to thee, because Elohim has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. So he urged him, and he took it. Then Esau said, let us take our journey. Let us go, and I will go before thee. But Jacob said to him, my Lord, Adonai knows that the Yeladim are weak, and the flocks and the herds which are nursing are with me. He didn't give him the nursing ones. He gave him the stronger ones. And if the men should drive them hard one day, all the flocks will die. Please, let Adonai go on before his servant, and I will lead slowly in a pace which the livestock that go before me and the Yeladim are able to endure, until I come to my Lord Adonai in Seir. Did you hear that? Nancy? Who's in here today? Joe's here. Hi, Joe. Nancy is here. Good. He lied, didn't he? Selling. Jacob's lying. He's telling Esau what he wants to hear. But he has no intention at all about going to Seir. He's going to his father's house. And Esau said, now let me leave with you some of the people who are with me. He said the same thing in Yasher. But he said, what need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of Adonai. So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. Brothers went two separate directions. And Jacob journeyed to Sukkot, built himself a house, and made booths for his livestock. Therefore the name of the place is called Sukkot. Booths, Sukkot. Booths is the plural form of sukkah, the temporary dwelling place which he made for the livestock. And because of those sukkah, those many sukkah, which are Sukkot, he called the place Sukkot. Then Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem. Ooh, we have lots to see here. Shechem. It says, which is in the land of Canaan. And he came from when he came from Padam Aram. And he pitched his tent before the city. Pitched his tent? That's what it says. The word here is kan. Here it is, kan. Kan. They say kana. Kana. Guess you could say it like that. Kana. They kana. He camped. He camped. What does the camp look like? Here's the camp. It's not about him pitching his tent. It's about pitching his camp. Pitched his camp. He camped, and he camped. That's what it literally says. And he camped. The pictograph, het, is a picture of a wall. The noon is a picture of a seed, meaning to continue. To combine, these mean wall continues. Listen what it says. A nomad camp consists of many family tents. That's what Jacob had, a nomad tent. A camp that is on the move. He took his camp, and how's he going to lay it out? The camp can have as many as 50 tents. Probably he had more than that, or more in it. The tents are placed in a circular configuration, forming one continuous wall surrounding the camp. That's where we have the wall continuous, because it goes around and never ends. There's safety in the camp. Pitched his camp before the city. Let's do this. I want to make this that color because it's really not giving us the right impression, the right understanding. And he bought the parcel of land where he camped from Hamar's seed, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. This says 100 pieces of money. We're going to see Yasher says 10 pieces of money. And he erected an altar there and called it El Elohi Israel. El Elohi. You know, people will read that and they say, well, there's another name for God, El Elohi. No, I don't think it is. Let's take a look at what this is. He erected an altar at this place after he's been delivered from Esau, after he's been delivered from Laban. Now he's coming to this place and he's going to build an altar to El Elohi Israel. Let's see what that name means. Here it is. It's the same kinds of things that we're talking about. Here's Elohi. Elohi. Just like Beni, just like Melchi, servants or angels, messengers of Elohim, just like Beni, seed of Elohim, or seed of Israel. This happens to be Israel, this word right here, Israel. So this is El Elohi Israel. El, the God of Israel. El, Israel's God. This is what it's saying. El, Israel's God. Why are we making a distinction between El, Israel's God, and potentially El, Shechem's God, Shechem's Elohim? Hamar is Shechem's Elohi. It could be El Elohi Shechem if we're talking about Hamar, but we're talking about El, Israel's Elohim. The God of Israel. Who's Israel? Israel is now Jacob, isn't it? Yeah, pretty interesting. Well, now, the next thing that we're going to talk about here is Dinah. But I don't want to go here yet. I want you to see the rest of the story first in Yasher. So we're going to continue in Yasher. We're not going to get far, unfortunately, but I'd like to continue in Yasher and kind of whet our appetite for what we're going to see next week. We don't have much time. It's already 12:47. I can spend another 10 minutes perhaps. But let's see what we can find in Yasher quickly, okay? Here it says, and in some time after, Jacob went away from the borders of the land, and he came to the land of Shechem. I wonder if this is the land of Salem. Remember, we talked about Melchizedek being the king of Salem. This is Shalem. It says shin instead of a sin. That is the city of Shechem. came to the land of Shalem. That is the land of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. And he rested in front of the city. This is where he pitched his camp. And he bought a parcel of the field which was there from who? Hamar's seed. The people of the land. The people are the land, are men. The seed of Hamor who owned the land. He bought it for 5 shekels, it says. Torah said 100 shekels. And Jacob there built himself a house. A house. Look at, we talked about him building a house in Sukkot. Now it's talking about a house here. Which is it? And Jacob there built himself a house, and he pitched his tent, his camp, there, and he made booths for his cattle. So in one version, in Torah, it makes it look like there's Sukkot. He built a house there and made booths in Sukkot for his cattle. And then went and camped in Shechem. I think there's a big festival going on in the city. And he's come to the city to be a part of that. Watch what happens. And Jacob built there himself a house, and he pitched his camp there, and he made booths for his cattle. Therefore he called the name of the place Sukkot. And Jacob remained in Sukkot 1 year and 6 months. At that time, it's like there's 2 different places going on. At that time, the women of the inhabitants of the land went to the city of Shechem to dance and rejoice with the daughters of the people of the city. And when they went forth, then Rachel and Leah, the women of Jacob, or Jacob's women, and their families also went to behold the rejoicing of the daughters of the city. Jacob and his families also went to behold the rejoicing of the daughters of the city. There's a festival going on. And look what it says. And Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, also went along with them and saw the daughters of the city, and they remained there before these daughters, whilst all the people of the city were standing by them to behold their rejoicing, and all the great people of the city were there. Remember, great people does not necessarily have a moral stance. These are the important people of the city who are there. Including, who was there? Shechem. I want to show you something. This says that Dinah was with Rachel and Leah, Jacob's women, and with their families. Went to behold the rejoicing of the daughters of the city. She went by herself. This wasn't a woman that just went out on her own and put herself in harm's way. This is a woman who's with her moms. Yes, I said moms. And her family. Beholding the rejoicing of the daughters of the city. Look what it says in Torah. It says, now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Well, shame on her, going out, leaving her mother and her father and her brothers, going out on her own. That's what it looks like, isn't it? No, there's more to this story than we see. Back to Yasher. Who were the great people? And Shechem, the son of Hamor, the prince of the land, was also standing there to see them. He's one of the great people of the land. And Shechem beheld Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, sitting with her mother before the daughters of the city. And the damsel pleased him greatly. And he there asked his friends and his people, saying, whose daughter is that sitting amongst the women whom I do not know in this city? How old is Dinah right now? In your mind, how old is Dinah? You know, we don't use common sense. We don't know this was a year and a half later. Jacob left at 99. Dinah was born just before Jacob was 91. Dinah is about 8 years old right now. 8 years old! Her brothers, who are going to destroy the city next week, are 11 and 12. Levi and Simeon. Simeon's the eldest. 12 years old. She's 8 years old. Wow, puts a whole new perspective on it, doesn't it, when you see it in the context and use some common sense to find out how old she is. And they said unto him, surely this is the daughter of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the Hebrew. Wow. They know who Isaac is. The Hebrew. The daughter of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the Hebrew, who has dwelt in this city for some time, a year and a half. And when it was reported that the daughters of the land were going forth to rejoice, she went with her mother and maidservants. Look, she's with the maidservants as well, to sit amongst them as thou seest. And Shechem beheld Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, Jacob's daughter. Shechem beheld Dinah, Jacob's daughter. And when he looked at her, his soul became fixed on her. And he sent and had her taken by force. And Dinah came to the house of Shechem, and he seized her forcibly, and lay with her, and humbled her. He raped her. And he loved her exceedingly, and placed her in his house. Dinah won't be home for dinner tonight, Jacob. Well, we're going to stop here. Ooh, wait till you see what we are going to find out next week. Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. This, we don't see it in Torah, but this seeing of Dinah, this taking of Dinah, and this humbling of Dinah was an act of war. We don't see it because we don't know Torah. But if we know Torah, we understand the subtleties of what is actually going on here. Ooh, join me next week, and we're going to see some amazing things. Hey, thanks for joining me today. See you later. Bye now.